Today's gospel follows one that we had a few days ago where Jesus appointed the 12 and sent them off with authority over unclean spirits and to be able to heal. And so they go off. And the way that Mark makes it seem like more time has passed than would have been if he said, and then they came back. He then speaks about Herod killing John the Baptist, which happened sometime in the past, and we heard that yesterday. And so now they've come back. And they reported all they had done and taught. And Jesus probably is recognizing their incredible excitement that God is doing incredible things through them. And so he says, okay, let's go and reflect on this. We need some time. You need to reflect on what happened. Where were your successes? Where were your failures? And how do we move closer to Almighty God through this? And so, because they don't even have a chance to eat here, they get into the boat and they're going to go to some deserted place. It's going to be Jesus and his disciples. It's going to be a powerful time, just the 13 of them hanging out, sharing what had happened, and him ministering to them. Except, what happened? Well, people saw where they were going, and they rushed out to get there before him. And from everything I've heard about the Sea of Galilee, the storms can push up, or even without the storms, enough wind pushing against you that as they're rowing across the Sea of Galilee, even though it's a shorter distance to go straight across to wherever you're going, it might take shorter time to run around the edge of the sea. And so people get there before him. And he sees this vast crowd. And his heart is moved not so much with pity, because pity focuses only on the physical need. Compassion focuses on the person. And he sees the word in the Greek is more closer to, his heart is moved with compassion for them. He sees their deep need. They are like sheep without a shepherd. And so he began to teach them many things. He begins to shepherd them. What I take from this is how readily Jesus gives up his own plan. I don't know about you, but very often in my life, I get up in a day and I have these are the things that are going to happen. And then my plans are all thrown out the window because of one phone call, one email, one person coming in. And suddenly there's some sort of crisis that I have to deal with. I'm sure none of you have ever experienced this before. Now, if any of you are like me, which I hope you're not, because that would be really sad. If any of you are like me, you might get a little bit frustrated, resentful, maybe even angry that my plans weren't able to be fulfilled today. I had these plans, I was going to do this and this and this and this and this, and then everything got thrown off. Except what does Jesus see? Jesus sees the person. His heart was moved with compassion for them. He sees their need, and he doesn't say, oh, well, so much for my time with my disciples. But rather, he sees how much they need a shepherd. And he begins to teach them many things. How do we react when our plans are thrown off? How do we react when we can't do the things we had planned to do? Jesus is inviting us to recognize his finger of love moving in our lives, transforming and drawing and saying, here's where I want you to go. Here's what I want you to do. I think about Father Mike Scanlon, God rest his soul. Father Mike used to spend hours of prayer in the morning before he'd go into the office. And in fact, there were times when there was some sort of problem that he was grappling with that he didn't have an answer to, and so he would basically stay in the chapel and say, God, I'm not leaving until you give me the answer to this. And the staff knew that if he didn't show up in the office, he must be grappling with something, and God hasn't given them the answer yet. And finally, when he would come in, maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they didn't think, well, he's been napping all day. No, they knew he was grappling with God, and God was saying, okay, here's what I want you to do. And part of that time that he would spend in the morning, he'd be giving his calendar over to the Lord and say, okay, Lord, I'm supposed to meet with some of the contributors to the university at this time. And said, God would speak to his heart and say, well, you can go there, but I'm not going to be there. Well, where are you going to be, Lord? I'm going to be over at this gathering of some students, because he was president of a university. I'm going to be over in this gathering of students who are having some praise time. I'm going to be there. Father Mike would say, well, I want to be where you're going to be. That's where all the excitement is, Lord. I want to be where you are. And he would change his plans to go there. And of course, then there's, well, what's the expectation? People are expecting me to be here. But he had to grapple with that and say, okay, I want to go where God is, what God is doing. And God very much is in the interruptions in our day. May we have the grace, the peace, the strength of will to follow God where he leads me in this moment, even if it goes against my plans.